So I just got done watching the Apothecary Diaries Season 1, this 24 episode anime, as Season 2 is going to be starting in about a week. So I wanted to get caught up. I've had a lot of people recommend it, and I knew I'd enjoy it when I got around to watching it, but initially when, it was airing, I was just too busy for me, and I was like, hey, if they're going to make a Season 2, I'll watch it closer to Season 2 so I can just jump in. And honestly, great decision, because now I have a week before I can see where the show's gonna go. But something strange happened when I was watching Season 1. See, I'm the type of person that if you don't like what you're watching, you should never force yourself to get to what's considered good, or if you get to this episode, it'll all make sense. No, you gotta enjoy what you are watching. And luckily, every single episode out of these 24 was at the bare minimum good. Often, it was pretty great, sometimes even amazing. And there was a handful of episodes I was like, oh, that's some masterpiece level. Episode 4 comes to mind with the main character Mao Mao's freak out, and just the emotion conveyed was fantastic. But something very strange happened in the final 2 episodes, 23 and 24, which I don't think I can recall myself feeling in any other show. See, this show starts off almost like a detective series in a way, where it's episodic kind of cases or mysteries or just illnesses, because we're dealing with a character who deals with medicines and poisons, and often it's just, oh, this character has this illness, or what's going on here. But then it starts evolving into political sabotage, and around episode 16 to 18, I forget exactly where, a lot of what was seemingly episodic moments come together to this kind of grand, almost assassination plotline, and that's really cool. What you initially thought was just random, episodic, almost slice-of-life, day-to-day adventures of, political sabotages, illnesses in a world that doesn't have, modern healthcare like our own, which is really enjoyable, and to see how it all kind of came together to this bigger punchline was enjoyable. But I've seen that done before. What you initially think is just one thing, it's actually a bigger conspiracy. But what I haven't seen done before is how hard the final 2 episodes have flipped my opinion, not only on a character, but of the entire goddamn show. And what I mean is, your main character Mao Mao, right? Her biological father, and what they did in the final 2 episodes. There's pulling the rug from under your feet, and then there's Truck-kun running and reversing over you a dozen times tenfold. I am blown away by not only how hard they flipped my perception of him as a character, but his entire story flips the entire interpretation of Mao Mao's life. And I can't remember the last time I've been so, had such a change in tune about a show, because really, I would say up to episode 22. I don't really give numerical ratings, I think they're pointless, but I'd say it's a pretty damn great, if not amazing show. It does exactly what it sets out to do, but those last 2 episodes, it just elevated it to such a degree that, obviously first impressions, last impressions, they last with you a bit longer. But I mean, my first impressions and last impressions are all kind of in the span of a 5-day window of watching this show. But I can't remember the last time I've seen the final 2 episodes, not only because I've seen it reshape a character's perception I've had, but his story, and how I just thought he was gonna be this creepy guy. I was like, even if he turns out to be nice, there's no way, oh my god. Just the way that all these episodic or simple stories cultivate into this brilliant story that I think it adapted 2 of the light novels, right? I think it's the 24 episodes. I think every 12 episodes it was roughly a light novel. Just brilliant shit, but I don't regret waiting to watch this. In fact, I'm kind of glad I did, because like I said, I got a week to wait for episode 1 of season 2, but Jesus. Can't believe I'm saying it, but yeah, that man and his story, the weirdest thing too is, while I assume there'd be an interesting story, just given kind of the foreshadowing earlier into the season, just the fact that he became my favorite part of the entire goddamn show, and how Mama's story, and then obviously her adoptive dad, and how it's just mind-blowing stuff. Overall, though, I will say this show does a very good job right away of making you like the MC. So Mao Mao is not your normal persona for a female lead. She's crazy. There's no other way to put it. This is the type of girl that if you gave her a glass full of poison, she'd be like the Grinch who stole Christmas before he stole Christmas, and his smile's going up to his ears. I just love her mannerisms, her persona, and just watching her interact with a world where, you know, you start with a character who really you assume is kind of in the lowest of the low territory. Like I mean, the intro of the damn show is like, hey dad, I'll be out for a little bit, and then immediately gets kidnapped. And like, just how casual she was about the whole kidnapping was just hilarious. And the overall vibe of being thrown into this kind of political situation where you're not really dealing with a lot of the politics on like a super state level or anything. It's all kind of like, what would a servant over here with a lot of this stuff? But over the course of it, especially because as we grow with one of these characters, Jinshi, who, you know, is supposed to be a eunuch, but I mean, as soon as I saw the dude's face, I was like, in episode 1 or 2, whatever it was, I was like, there's no way this dude's a eunuch. It's clearly going to be something else. And then, of course, over the course of the story, we learn, yeah, there's clearly some political rumblings going on here. It's actually a deeper, you know, mission, so to speak. I mean, it's around episode 19 or something like that, where we actually see how he suppresses his manhood with a drink that apparently tastes horrible. And it's really interesting because a blind man can see that he's very much interested in Mao Mao, like on a romantic level, but she has like the complete opposite feelings towards him. And it's not because like he's not her type or anything. She literally says like anyone would be swoon, man or girl. Like, and it's just like the fact that she just assumes he has no manhood, and that's like it's just the misunderstandings. I think that's one of my favorite parts about the show is the misunderstandings of the show and just how it creates such comedy whiplash. But each of the little missions or little events that we have go on, and how the first big moment that really shows you that the show's deeper than you initially think. Because even if you're loving every episode up until the assassination attempt on Jinshi's life, it's very much like, you know, you could understand why some people would be like, oh, you know, like I just prefer more story-driven stuff. So while it's, because really it's slice of life up to that point, and then all these like different moments, whether it was, you know, here's this dude who worked with metal and how, you know, with his sons and how it beams in if it will like kind of melt the lock a bit so they could bond. It's just like, okay, yeah, that's a really cute story. And then how that relates to an assassination attempt later on and just the emotion that it conveyed. It's just, they did such a good job with the characterization. And then when you realize how much deeper they're going to go with the story and narrative, it all starts to click. You're like, okay, yeah, there's an understandable reason the show got popular. The thing that really kind of like cemented me watching more was episode 4, because the first 3 episodes enjoyable for me, but I was still waiting for like that big hook, and it was when Mao Mao freaked out, like her emotion, the way she conveyed herself, and just the slapping of the lady in waiting there, just because of the mistake of, you know, because there's like this powder, right, the makeup that's actually poisonous, and she's been continuously applying it even though it's been banned because, well, the shade looks great on her, but that almost killed her. And just like the way she goes from someone being tossed on her ass every other frame to I'm the captain now, it just made me want to see more of her character. And it wasn't until episode 23 and 24 that I felt like the anime reached that point again for me. But that's not to say every other episode prior to that was bad. It's just that was a level of emotion and just my eyes glued to the screen that nothing else really got across. But Jesus, man, like her biological dad, like I have to commend this. The way they go from who's supposed to be this kind of creepy guy, I always want to see her, and she wants nothing to do with him, to actually he's desperately trying to make up for what he considers this big mistake because he fell in love with this courtesan who he misunderstood the situation, was pregnant. He was gone for 3 years. She got all of these diseases, and all he wants is to desperately be with his daughter, kind of make amends. And worst of all, worst of freaking all, he thinks, because it's not until the end of the first season that he knows that she's actually here under a contract. From his point of view, Jinshi is basically like keeping her as a slave, so he's desperately doing everything he can as a father to free his daughter. And it's just one big misunderstanding. And the way they come together, man, it's beautiful. It really is. It's such a beautiful freaking show. And on the topic of beauty, probably one of the most beautiful television anime I've ever seen. I don't know what it is, but the backgrounds and most of the time the character models feel like a goddamn movie. Like, it's just gorgeous to look at. The voice actors are great. The music was great. Just, man, I'm still in disbelief because I'm coming off of 23 and 24. So yes, it's fresher on my mind, but I'm still thinking about episode 4, mind you. It's just, there's so much with this family, and Mao Mao looks at face value to be just the most commoner person. And how she connects on a deeper political level is just so brilliant. And I'm interested to see where they're going to take that story. Hopefully her dad and her mom get a little bit of time, because obviously the mom's not doing too hot. But yeah, just top to bottom, this show at the very worst was good, and for the most part stayed at a great level for me. But the way they flipped a character like her dad on its head to such a degree that it reshaped my opinion on Mao Mao and her story. And obviously it's tragic when you look at it from her perspective too, because like her real first memory of this man is this pathetic image of him like almost reaching out to her, and then just like the idea of losing your finger. It's just brilliant shit. This show is beautiful, and I'm so excited to check out season 2 next week. But yeah, I can't believe it. I've shifted my opinion on shows before, but never quite as hard as the final 2 episodes of season 1 did for me. Let me know what you thought of the Apothecary Diaries when you checked it out, whether if you recently did like myself or you watched it when it was airing. How excited are you for season 2 when it starts next week? And you want to see videos on the channel on it weekly? Let me know down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course ring that bell. And hey, I also have a Patreon where we're going to be covering season 2 weekly, no matter what. I did watch this one on my own, so I don't have live reactions to season 1. I just kind of enjoyed it on my own time, but we will be covering season 2 over there if you're interested. So, till next time, everyone, please take care. Have a good one.